And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael Delon, and today I am talking with Juan Taveras. And well, first of all, Juan, thank you for spending some time with me.
Gosh, Michael, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have a chat with you.
Well, you are welcome. I'm excited because you do something I don't think I've ever had anybody on my program that does what you do. So I'm really excited, and I know it adds a lot of value to business owners. So Juan and his wife run a company called DEI ProFinder. So they're the online resource for business owners, HR professionals around the area of diversity, equity, inclusion, and all of that stuff that is so confusing. So I can't wait to dive into this, Juan. Um, let's just jump in. Tell me, how in the world did you get doing something like you're doing today?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, you used the word just now. The DEI space can be very confusing and overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, this idea, probably no surprise, but it came from, I should say, a personal pain point that I
Okay.
had as an HR leader. So, I'll share briefly that I've been in the HR space for over 13 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was in hospitality. I went to school for hospitality. So I like to believe that I bring in my everything I learned in the hospitality space about creating warm and inviting environments and taking care of people's needs so that you have a satisfied guest and customer that's going to come back and also tell all their friends about it, right? So that's how I operate as an HR leader. Like I want to create workspaces where people feel comfortable, they feel like they can be themselves, they feel like they can contribute and are valued and want to be there every day. Because
Yeah.
when that happens, right, like the impact to that bottom line is fantastic if you're doing it right. So let's fast forward to about early 2020 when
Okay.
DEI and for the record, diversity, equity, and inclusion work has been around for decades, right?
Yeah.
Let's put that out there. This is not new. It's just looked different and continues to evolve. But in 2020, we had a lot of happening politically and in society and a lot of unrest. So companies prioritize this work, rightfully so. And there was, to your point, a lot of movement, a lot of things happening at the same time, which caused a lot of confusion. And then what I noticed as an HR leader, working full time at an organization, was there wasn't enough planning that happened before launching into it, big initiatives or making massive changes to the way organizations operate and how business are structured, et cetera. So as is almost like looking now, right back now in hindsight's 2020, as they say, but it was almost expected that things were going to not work as they had
Yeah.
hoped, right?
Yeah.
So now we hear stories about companies cutting DEI teams entirely and cutting down budgets. But in the midst of all that, I, as an HR leader, had my own challenges with implementing DEI initiatives at the employer that I was at the time. And a resource like DI ProFinder did not exist. I know enough to be dangerous in this space, but but that means I also know when I need help, external help for
Yeah.
specific or someone who has a deeper expertise in a specific area. So when I started my own process of finding help, it was really hard and it took a very long time and a lot of energy and effort. So anyway, long story short, that was that pain point that I felt personally. I managed to get through it, but I also know a number of HR colleagues that didn't
Yes.
weren't able to find what they needed and ultimately just gave up on that work. So that was that pain point that initially got me excited about this opportunity. And here we are today.
That's cool. That is so cool. So real quick, give a snapshot for our audience. When we say DEI ProFinder, what is it?
Yes. So I'm still working on this, to be honest with you, because it's a two-sided marketplace, right? So on the one side, you have DI consultants, and we have 120 DI consultants on our directory at the moment. And I work with them to help them elevate the visibility and awareness of their services, because one of the purposes of DI ProFinder is to showcase the diversity within the DEI landscape. There's no two consultants that are the same, right? And everyone has a unique approach to this work. And oftentimes, and then the other side is HR leaders and business leaders, right? That are navigating this work, are maybe unsure about where to start or how to start. And I my team and I step in, and we support that process, and then make those connections with what now we call the right fit consultant, that can help them get to that next level. We serve as a bridge or a connector there.
Yeah. So really, I mean, in our world, there are a lot of outsourcers or
Yes.
like graphic designers or writers or whatever. And there are lots of companies out there. I mean, Upwork is one of them. They're a big thing. I mean, Indeed, in a sense, is an outsource. They're a hub for people who need a job and people who are looking for somebody.
Right.
And in a sense, that's kind of what you're doing is you're in the middle to say, we have providers who can help you. And if you need help, here's where you can find them. You're a marketplace in a sense for HR providers around DEI, and you have trainings for business owners. You've got education. You've got a lot of places where a business owner can go and go, okay, I think I found my spot. Now I'm not navigating the internet. I'm navigating a very specific world of HR professionals because a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, we don't have an HR department,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But we still need to be involved with what you do because we are building teams
Hmm.
and we have people and people matter, right?
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about the struggles, the frustrations that business owners have around this. Why do they give up? And
Mhm.
what are some of the resources you provide in your team through DEI Profinder that help?
Yeah, and I love. I'm gonna need to borrow some of what you just said for. I love that description because that's exactly what we do. And the service, the sort of the value we provide is this one-stop shop, right? So you're no longer searching the whole internet. You've come here to find free resources. You've got us if you need help, and then you've got a directory of consultants you can connect with. So why this is important is because like we said earlier, the DI landscape can be very confusing. It's overwhelming. Yeah, and the research has been done and over again, the benefits of having a diverse team, but not
Yeah,
just diversity, because this is where some businesses get hung up. It's like, oh, do we have the right people on the team? That's of course important. But
yeah,
once you have the diversity, and I mean, and I want to also qualify here that it's diversity, but when we say diversity, we don't only refer to race or gender. It's
right,
also experience and perspective and way of thinking and living, right? So like cultural and religious,
yeah,
everything. So once you have the diversity on your team, what are you doing with the diversity? How are people showing up and leveraging their uniqueness to benefit you and your business and your customers, right? So that's the inclusion piece. And then equity is making sure that you're taking care of everyone equally at the same, at the same level, that everyone has
right,
access to opportunities and has the resources that they need to be successful. So it's easy to get hung up on like the politics behind some of this
right.
stuff, but at the end of the day, we're creating spaces for people to be successful and so that we can serve our customers better.
And in building your team, building your culture in your team, and when you have team members who are who enjoy what they do, they
Yes,
love coming to work, they've bought into the vision of that entrepreneur. Guess what? They serve your prospects and your clients so much better
absolutely.
because I've always somebody told me this and I read it in a book or something that if I've got to figure out how I want my team members to treat my clients. I need to treat my team members that way or
That
better.
way. Yes.
And we forget that. But so many times, it's funny you were talking about bringing people of different, let's say race or nationality, right?
Mhm.
I worked for a nonprofit ministry for a decade, and we had a ministry. It was a global ministry, right? And so we would do ministry all over the world. And we were here in America doing ministry over there. It was like, oh, that was great. But we had a week where every country represented, they had like a food fest, and so we got
Mm.
to eat food from all these places where we were actually ministering to. That kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, well, that is really wicked cool. I think that's what business owners can learn to embrace. I think it scares the daylights out of a lot of us.
Yes.
How do you
And yeah. I
how do you
get
help
that.
with that? Yeah.
I get that, right? So this is where part of this work, especially when I'm working with an HR leader that hasn't done this before, or in a couple of cases, and these have been some really interesting consulting projects. The HR leader is doing it because they have to, not because there's like a personal passion for
Yeah.
it or understanding. So really, getting to the core of that fear. and really creating a space where that individual can open up and say, look, I'm struggling with this because it goes against my values, or it's not what I personally believe, or whatever it might be, whatever the reason is. And that is okay, because that is part of this work, at least from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's about connecting with our individual humanity and being like, okay, let's have a conversation about that, and let's explore other perspectives. Like what anyway, you get the point.
Heaven
But
forbid. Yeah. No, I love what I'm going to stop you right there. I love what you're saying, because it's about communication
yeah,
at one level. If I'm fearful of talking with Juan, guess what? If I don't talk with Juan, I'm going to be more fearful.
right.
But if I go and have coffee with him or sit down and talk with him, I'm going to realize he's a guy a lot like me. We probably have more in common than we have not in common. Do you find that as you're helping entrepreneurs build teams?
Absolutely, absolutely. And like the example you just shared, like your employees will oftentimes surprise you because they haven't had the opportunity to share of themselves, or to be more open about who they are, what they do outside of work, right? That you oftentimes find many more commonalities than you do difference. And then when you have that shared foundation, then everything else seems like, it's easier to walk through those doors. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's take this down a little bit more practical. Let's talk about DEI Profinder.
Yeah.
That's the website hub that you all have created. If I'm a business owner, when would I go there?
Yeah.
What's going on in my life that makes me think I need that? What
Yeah, good question. So there are really three sort of points within the DEI journey. You're either just getting started, so you don't know where to go or what to do first. And I love when I say, like, I catch people at that stage, because there hasn't been anything there's nothing has to be undone at that point, right? It's
Yeah.
sort of like we're starting fresh, because oftentimes when leaders just dive into the work, they start with training, or they want to completely overhaul their policies, and they overstep or overlook the change process, right? Like we
Yes.
really need to be really intentional with how we're going to shepherd our people through this process and make sure that everyone remains aligned, and that we're all on the same page at all times, right? So I love that phase. So if you're just getting started, you don't know what to do or how to do it. Maybe you have an idea of what you have a vision for what you want your DS strategy to be, but don't know how to operationalize it. We can support. We also have a number of clients that have been doing this for several years and are now sort of at a stuck point, right? So it might be a major transition happening at the organization, new leadership, a growth phase, you name it, any number of things that might cause a strategy to sort of be put on hold, or So we step in there and also help assess, like, don't keep doing what you're doing, because you might not get the same results, but also don't start over, right? So there's an opportunity to leverage what you've done to bring that into that next phase of the work. So we support there as well. And then the other group is folks that are well on their journey and they have very specific needs. So, like, I need a consultant that can do training on this particular culture, because we're going to be entering this new market and we need our teams to be better informed and more aware of how this particular group of people think, or how they operate, or how they can connect genuinely with those folks, or whatever it may be, or even global companies that are doing a similar thing, right? So all of those needs are very different, but DI Profinder can support them all.
That's good. So and that's amazing. That's really cool, because there are a lot of business owners. I'm just thinking as you're talking, in all those different things. So
Yeah.
you provide this guidebook, this dare I say, and you're probably not even old enough for this, a phone book. Because we would go to the phone book to find somebody to help, and that's kind of this online. It's an online marketplace of HR professionals
Mhm.
who can help you and guide you no matter where you are.
No matter where you are.
And and I think that's so cool, because instead of hiring or watching one webinar or hearing one person, you have this entire cadre of people that I get to go into, and I get to choose based on where I am and
Yeah.
all of that, right? And so you go there, and I notice right on the website, it's like, what are you looking for? So you can put in some keywords and things, and it'll give you some results. It's
Mhm.
also a webinar somebody's doing. So a lot of information. which I really appreciate because you can just tell from Juan, he's really a high pressure salesperson, right? No, you've got this amazing resource that's available to everybody.
Yes.
And as a business owner, it's incumbent upon us to be the leaders in not just this little area, right, of HR and all of that, but we don't need to be the ostrich and stick our head in the sand saying, well, that doesn't matter. No, we need to engage. We need to understand. We need to learn, bring people around us who understand it better. And instead of hiring an HR person, why don't you like connect with Juan and his team? So let's talk a little bit more, just a tad, about when somebody comes there. Is there a community? How do they connect with that person that's going to help them? Is there a guided pathway? What other resources are there that you have for that business owner?
Yeah, great question. So we do have some free resources. I love that you use the word, I think you said roadmap, because that's one of the guides is a roadmap of the journey, and it illustrates what we call the DI maturity model, right? So like, where are you? Because there's like I said earlier, we all have our visions are usually greater than where our reality, right? Where we are right now. So being honest about where you are, and then making some recommendations about what to do at that stage. But then there's also free, like you mentioned, the free webinars. We host webinars, but also our consultants, we market and publicize any freebies that they have as well, because they're going to have very specific things that they talk about. And then the directory is free, so it's public and it's open. So if you know what you're looking for, you can go, like you just said, search keywords or specific areas of expertise, and then start connecting with consultants. Like that is and that doesn't involve us. We don't have to get in the way, or there's no money exchange. There's just, hey, you need to connect with somebody. There you have it.
That's so cool. So the other, I was watching the football games over the weekend, right? And the other thing that came to me that's similar to what you guys are doing is, dare I say, and I hate promoting people, but I don't, is hotels.com. I have a need for a hotel. They've got a whole bunch of hotels. They got a directory service that helps me find the hotel. Same thing here, right? And if I'm running a business and I'm needing some help around diversity, equity, inclusion, HR, things of that nature, where do I go? Well, I go to DEIprofinder.com, and there it is. And the dots start connecting, but I'm in charge. I really like that. And then I can go as deep as I need to, whether I just do a directory search and find somebody, or whether I say, hey, no, I need some more help, because you've laid this pathway, this roadmap out in such a way that any business owner, whether they're starting or whether they're seasoned, they're going to find the what they need at DEI Profiler. Is that a fair statement?
100%.
Okay. This has been a great conversation. I got lots more questions. We could go on for a bit longer, I think. Tell me, how does somebody take that first step? Where do they find you, or where's the website? What's that next best step for one of my listeners?
Absolutely. So I encourage them to visit DEIprofinder.com. They can sign up for my newsletter. Whether you're a consultant or an HR leader, business leader, I have 2 separate newsletters that I send out. Engage with us directly on there, and then of course LinkedIn. That's sort of my business home. Is if you can look me up, Juan Taveras, at LinkedIn, you'll see my profile picture, and I have a DI Profinder on my back.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to make sure, Juan, that I grab both of those links. We'll get those in the show notes. Because busy entrepreneurs, we're doing lots of things. We're probably dealing with people issues right now. Serving people. So when you listen to this, dive into the show notes. We'll have the links there to DEIprofinder.com and Juan's LinkedIn profile as well, because this is such an important topic. And there's help available to business owners, to entrepreneurs who really haven't been trained in this. We're clueless, and we're fearful because we don't want to make a wrong step. And I think there's a great pathway here. It's a great entrepreneurial venture that you've put together, and it's very simple to navigate, at least from what I've seen so far. So kudos to you and your wife who you're co-partnered with her. I love that. Family business, but it's really impacting people and helping navigate this very, very circuitous route and making it more simple. So Juan, thank you for doing this, and thanks for being my guest today on Expert Speak.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
You are welcome, sir. Go check him out, deiprofinder.com, and be sure to listen to another episode of Experts Speak next week. Take care. Have a great day. God bless.